What is the most hurtful thing someone has said to you? My dad told me I was the reason my mom left when I was 12 years old. We were sitting in our empty kitchen after another frozen dinner, and I asked him why she never called or visited anymore. He'd been drinking, which wasn't unusual since the divorce. The house always smelled like beer and sadness those days. Empty bottles lined the counter, and dirty dishes piled up in the sink. I was just trying to understand why my mom had completely disappeared 6 months earlier. My friends at school all had divorced parents, but their moms still picked them up on weekends or called them at night. My mom had just vanished like she never existed. I kept waiting for her to show up at my soccer games or school events, but she never did. "You really want to know?" he said, not looking at me. "She said raising you was too hard. Said you were too much work and she couldn't handle it anymore." His words hit me like a punch to the stomach. I sat there stunned, trying to process what he'd just told me. My 12-year-old brain couldn't understand how a mom could just decide her kid was too much trouble. I started crying and asked if that meant she didn't love me. "I don't know," he said, finishing his beer. "Maybe if you'd been easier, she would have stayed." Then he got up and went to his room, leaving me alone at that kitchen table feeling like I'd destroyed my own family. For years, I carried that guilt. I believed I was fundamentally flawed, that something about me was so wrong it drove my own mother away. I became obsessed with being perfect, thinking maybe if I was good enough, she'd come back. I started analyzing everything I'd done wrong as a little kid. Maybe I cried too much as a baby. Maybe I asked for too many things. Maybe I was too loud or too needy or just not the kind of son she wanted. I stopped talking much, afraid that saying the wrong thing would make my dad leave too. I got straight A's, never caused trouble, basically tried to become invisible so I wouldn't be too much for anyone else. Every Mother's Day was torture. Every time someone mentioned their mom, I felt that familiar stab of pain and shame. I convinced myself that other kids were just naturally easier to love than I was. When I turned 18, I decided to find my mom myself. It took months of searching online and calling relatives, but I finally tracked her down living in Oregon. I was terrified but needed to know the truth. I called her on a Tuesday evening, my hands shaking as I dialed. When she answered and I said who I was, she immediately started crying. "I've been hoping you'd call for years," she said. "I wasn't allowed to contact you." That's when the real story came out. My dad had threatened to take me away and disappear if she ever tried to see me or call me. He'd convinced the court she was unstable during the custody battle, and she was only allowed supervised visits that he kept canceling. She'd been sending letters and birthday cards to my school, but my dad had contacted them and said not to give them to me. She'd even driven to our town several times just to see me from a distance at school events. My mom told me she'd sat in parking lots watching me play soccer, crying because she couldn't run over and hug me. She'd wanted to approach me so many times, but was terrified my dad would make good on his threats. "I never stopped loving you," she said through tears. "I fought for you every day, but your father made it impossible. I was saving money for a lawyer to fight for custody when you turned 18. I felt my entire world shift. The story that had defined my childhood, that had made me hate myself for years, was a complete lie. My mom hadn't abandoned me because I was too difficult. My dad had stolen her from me. When I confronted him later, he just shrugged and said, I was angry and hurt. No apology, no remorse for the years of self-hatred he'd caused. That was 3 years ago. Now my mom and I talk every day, and I'm slowly healing from believing I was unlovable.